again that's here with us. I want to thank you for joining our first ever Show and Inspire presentation. And this really is not about us. It is all about you and everyone that has joined. And I want to thank Jonathan Small with QGate for joining us. And he's going to actually kick off for us what he has done and kind of we're hoping to inspire others. So please feel free to share in as we go through all of the presentation. And I don't really want to, I'm going to let Jonathan introduce himself and his company. But before I do, just one other friendly little reminder with using Teams is that if any of you are going to be showing the videos that you have created, just make sure that when we do share the screen with you to show, that you put the tick in the box to include your system audio, because the system audio is what's going to pick up any of the video, because those are the sounds that come from your laptop. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and just go ahead and take it away, Jonathan.
Hey, Christine. Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Small, and I work for a company called QGate Software Limited, based in the UK on the South Coast. We are a CRM delivery partner, so our main core business tends to be the provisioning of CRM Dynamics and Info as well to our clients. We also have some ISV solutions built in-house to do with telephony and for things like duplication detection and prevention as well. So we have a little bit of a range of different things going on. My own personal background is based in teaching and training, and so I'm quite a new addition to the QGate team. I've been with them just over a year. And most of my training experience and all my teaching and delivery was within the prison system. So I spent 15 years teaching and managing in prisons. So I've got a bit of a diverse sort of look on how training is delivered. And also coming into this, it was quite a new thing, because prisons tend to be about 10 years behind the rest of the world, unfortunately, in terms of IT and things like that. So this has been a bit of a career change for me, which is pretty much what I was looking for when I did it. So my sort of desire to do this came about from when I first started using ClickLearn, this wonderful, wonderful tool. There wasn't a great deal out there in terms of examples of other people's sort of building of platforms and portals for me to draw on to sort of inform my own. And so I think this is a fantastic opportunity to share that information, look at what other people have done, and get some great ideas, which is why I'm more than happy to go first and sort of go with what I've done and then have a look at what other people have done too. So saying that, I shall share my screen. So I think for me, it's been a massive progression in sort of terms of learning and ideas. And I think the one thing which I want to start with, which I think possibly gets neglected, is the little digital assistant. And at the moment, everyone's familiar with our wonderful little guy here. And it wasn't till quite late on that I realized how I could change that digital assistant. And I have been building up a little backlog of different digital assistants, which I can use within different portals and different CRMs. And I think one of the things that I find quite nice about, I also have a little bit of a background in photography and digital art generally as well. And it's that ability to be a little bit creative with ClickLearn, which I really like. So being able to put in an avatar, which is a little bit different or a little bit unique, allows for a little bit more diversity in what I can provision to my customers. And one of the things that came out of a recent conversation was being able to take an avatar or a set of avatars from people within the company to put a really nice fresh face on the digital assistant. So that's what I've started doing quite a lot of, is adding in digital assistants, which are a little bit more bespoke to a company, and perhaps a friendly face on the training and the support which is there for those individuals within the company. And much as I love the traditional digital assistant, it's really great fun to be able to put in someone a bit different. And as you can see, there's me within the CRM there, which it is something which I think people quite enjoy being able to see. So that's the sort of the first thing which I I don't know if it gets used in that way very much, but for me, that's one of the things I'm really enjoying being able to do at the moment. In terms of the portals and the way that I provision training to people, the other great thing that I find is being able to provision as a very similar set of information in different ways to suit different needs, and the structuring and the ability to add in additional information. And the structure is quite important to me when I create these things. So I'm very keen when I create something to have a very set structure. And I think the templates and the ability to set a template to structure things in advance, I didn't come to that until quite much later. And I think it's actually one of the best things I discovered or was taught by the ClickLearn team in the end, of how you can put in these headings and subheadings and information before you even get going with your recording. And then you can structure what you're doing around it. And here I'm doing a lot more with adding in practical tasks and practical training so people can take that information and actually put it into practice. So taking it that one step further than just being a support, actually being a training portal in a more true sense as well. Other things that I really like, again, as I say, I'm quite a visual person. So being able to play around with the icons and the look of something, that is something which gets me quite excited. So that when we were able to add in new icons and being taught how to do that was quite an exciting thing for me. And doing the same portal in different ways. So you can have different types of icons and different look and feel. And again, you come across customers who have got a very different outlook on how they want things. So it might be they want something quite simple, but it might be something they want quite colourful or quite engaging. So being able to provision the portal in a different way so it has a different look and feel, I find is a really exciting way of sort of promoting how you do this to people. Also, the other thing that I find quite useful is being able to add in extra levels within something. So here I've got an extra level of shelf, or the sub chapters within the shelf, and again being able to add in those different types of icons, and you can get people having an idea of what things relate to in a much better way if you can add in icons which are more specific to what you're trying to get across. And again, with visual people, it's really useful because they'll get a better idea of where they're going within your portal. So another thing that I find, again, quite useful, and again, I came quite late to, was being able to put in things like metadata and playing around more with the templates as well. So, for example, adding in images into a template and then being able to track the metadata as well. And I think, again, for my own sort of use and my own experience, now I can track where I'm at. It makes me updating things that much more simple, and I can track the ID number and the version number and make sure that I'm always keeping on top of my clients' portals and making sure it's all up to date. Another thing that, again, a visual thing for me is sort of the icons to the side here. Again, some people want something very, very sort of austere and sort of very simple. For me, as a visual person, it's quite useful to be able to put in additional icons. Again, ones that link out specifically. So we've got the PDF, Word, and PowerPoint icons from Microsoft there instead of the standard ones. And again, when it comes to looking at things that are particular to a system, being able to add in information in terms of the imagery that you put on there, and it just gives that overall nice feel to something. So at the moment, I'm working on some quite big projects, and again, that metadata and that side of things helps me organize that. The imagery I've got in here, again, it's quite simple, but it's also a little bit of color and a little bit of black and white. Again, it's a bit more eye-catching than just something very, very just one color. And to me, again, it's that visual aspect which makes things much more interesting to prospective clients. And then going through again, I've got my icons here. And again, it's that structure again. And I like having that very set structure. When I go into ClickLearn, I have it set up so it always gives me the same structure, and it gives me a base and a starting point to go through. And So yeah, so basically, I mean, those are the main things that I'm enjoying about ClickLearn and creating my portals. When it comes to my portals, I say I'd sort of follow through a particular routine of doing them. And for me, as I say, it's going to be really useful to see how other people provision that same information or similar information, and how they sort of present that to their clients and customers, and which I can hopefully draw some ideas from in the same way that perhaps people can draw from me. And that, as I say, is pretty much where I'm at. So is there anything anyone has any questions about in terms of how I produce?
The different icons down the downloads PDF and the Word and the PowerPoint.
Yep.
Is that part of the template change, or did you have to make those modifications out on the portal?
That's just in the template. So it's adding the icon image to that section of the template.
Okay. Yeah, that looks really nice. I love all your additional graphics and icons.
As I say, I'm very much a visual person myself. Started life as a photographer and working in the photographic industry. So to me, it's all about what someone sees. And then if someone sees something and it's eye-catching, and they're more likely to take things further and do more with it. But yeah, this I got very excited when I found out I could do things like that.
Jonathan, you have icons on the book level.
Yeah,
but you also have different icons on each recording.
So so it wasn't on each recording. That was for let me find the right one. So I added in it here an extra level, a subchapter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So one of the things I've asked of the team at ClickLearn is being able to play around more with these icons. So yeah, these are very much written into the base template, and at the moment you can't change them, but it'd be nice to be able to add a little bit more into there. So I'll be quite excited to see what comes out in the new version when it comes out in October.
Thank you.
And Elizabeth, did you have a question? I see that you put in the chat.
Yes, I was just wondering if Jonathan used a third-party program to create these icons and avatars, or were they done directly within ClickLearn?
So the avatars, it was a free app on my phone to create the avatar. And then it was using Microsoft Paint 3D, because it has a wonderful little tool where you can separate part of the image out of the background. So it took about 2 minutes to create it and then separate the different versions out, and then just pop them into the template in PowerPoint ready to upload into ClickLearn. So the whole process took me about 15-20 minutes to do once I got my head around it. The other icons I use, so these tend to be ones, we have access to a paid portal for lots of different icons, where we can just pull them off, and what I tend to do is pull off the ones I want, play around with the colours in something like Paint, and then re-upload them into ClickLearn as well. So again, it's very, very simple, very easy stuff to do. But for me, it makes it that little bit more effective than just something which is a single colour.
Yeah, Jonathan, really very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. I love the tool. I absolutely love using the tool, I have to say.
Thank you so much. Totally unsolicited, everybody. We like those kind of little plugs. Is there someone else that has brought some ideas to be able to show, share, and inspire? I'd be happy to turn it over to someone.
Hi, this is Linda Lockard. I have 2 items that I was going to share with the team.
That's great. Wendy, why don't you go ahead and take the presenter rights from Jonathan. And I don't know if you were on the call from the very beginning, but just a little reminder, if you do want to fire up any of the videos, just make sure you put the check in the box to include your system audio when you share.
Okay, I am new to Teams, and actually, I'm sorry, it's Linda Lockard. It's I'm with the Census, and we have been using ClickLearn for almost a year now. And so I have two videos that I wanted to share. One where we are using the flow, the new option of the flow, as well as one where I have some an image that is showing in the documentation but doesn't necessarily show up in the video. So I'll begin with the one that we have with the flow, which is one of the newer features, I believe, that ClickLearn has created, with being able to ask questions and kind of change directions of where the user wants to go next. So for this particular one, I have it asking what type of relationship they want to create. And so I have two of them where they can either choose the employer or the community. And then based on that, of course, then it goes to what that next level is of the video. So I wanted to show you what I've done behind the scene in order to get that to create and view that way. Does everyone now see my ClickLearn?
Yes.
Portal?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me just let it catch up here.
Yeah, we're seeing like your inside view, like the author area, Linda. Is that what we're supposed to see?
Yes, that's what you're supposed to see. So I'm just waiting for my little icon to catch up. It's not responding yet. Sorry. Well, I had these all queued up, everyone. And now it's not.
The best laid plans. That's okay.
Well, while that catches up, Linda, I can talk a little bit about, sorry?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I can ramble a little bit about what we do and what we've been doing with ClickLearn. So I'm Kylie Kaiser. I'm also with the Census. You've also seen Dan Madden on here, who runs our CRM team. So I'm a product owner, and Linda is one of our admins, our CRM admins, who's also one of our ClickLearn authors. And so we have two ClickLearn authors, and what we are trying to do is infuse ClickLearn into everything we're doing. So anytime we're releasing something new, we want to do ClickLearns for it. But also as we're bringing new groups onto CRM, then we're kind of creating all of their training within ClickLearn. So something I think we've done well is how we have organized our training plans around ClickLearn. So it's kind of ClickLearn first and then see what else you need. So like new groups we'll bring on, we'll say, these are the trainings we think you should watch in ClickLearn. And then we put that into our other like HR learning management system, basically a task that says you watched these 5 trainings or something like that with a link out to ClickLearn. And they'll basically get any of the instructions that they need for ClickLearn in that email or in that task, so that because there isn't much training needed to navigate around and find more training. We'll just basically be telling them, hey, you have different types of training you can watch. And then after they do that training, then we'll get ready for launch and say, well, what else do you need? And a lot of the time they don't need very much, or they just need some specialized features or things like that. And a lot of those discussions help us determine, okay, well, should these be things that we're putting in ClickLearn later or things like that? So I think it's been really interesting because I think something I've struggled with in past roles is always that decision point. So we're on a CRM team. So do we run training? Does the training department run training? Should the business own the training? And this has given us a way that we can at least own part of the training, and the business can still be responsible for policies or procedures around the training. But we kind of hold the master, the center, the really the core training to make sure that people are doing it right and make sure we're providing resources for adoption. So I think that that's been really successful for us. Linda, it looks like you're ready to go.
I am. Okay. So this is the flow feature that ClickLearn has, where what I did is that I wanted the user to be able to choose the first time whether or not they wanted the employer view or the community view. But then I thought, well, maybe after that, they do want to go and look at the community view as well. So what I did is I just replicated these slides right here and put them beneath a second question that then asked, okay, would you like to look at a different type of relationship? So at that point, they can either answer no, or they can say, yes, I want to see the other one. And so what I did is that I then have just a note field down at the bottom that's tagged with the no, so that if they click no, it goes to the end of the video. And so what I did to prevent the videos showing again after here, as well as the documentation showing up twice, is that everything beneath after the second question, I have blocked out. So it's only there and available if they choose the option to view it. So in the documentation, you can see that everything's only here once. So for the documentation, it includes both relationships, employer and community. But the video, if they want to skip that part on the video, they can and go to the end of the video. So that's a really nice feature that ClickLearn has come out with, as well as being able to include pictures within videos. So for the other one, what I have is we have inside view, where inside view has a lot of definitions for some of these terms and these conditions. And so instead of having them in the video and having it pause long enough for people to read it, we only wanted to include it in the documentation and not the video. So I just put a note in here that the additional information is available inside the documentation. And so if we look at the documentation inside here, I have the image, which I'm going to change to my developer role, because images, the controls for the additional images for the controls are within that. So here I have the image that the picture that I've created and attached into a note. And then I have where it's placed. And then I have where I want it centered, as far as being, you know, stretched vertically or center vertical, so that it shows here, but doesn't show in the, and that's the other thing. So what I've done, I've turned the video off, as well as the text node, so it doesn't show up while it's playing. But people, when they can print out the documents and they have that to reference outside the video. Any questions on these two features?
Yeah, so Linda, on the images that we added, I think we had gone back and forth about including those in the video and not including them in the video. And I think when we had them in the video, we had to make some changes to make sure they stayed on the screen long enough to read all the details there. Can you show like how we had to make that when we made that change?
Yes. Yes. So actually we've done a couple of changes. So if you notice on a lot of my, on this training video, I have a note at the bottom, and we found that some of our users were saying that the last slide went by a little faster than the other ones, and they just needed it to pause a little bit. So I've done notes here at the end where we want things to pause. just empty notes, and I put a video pause because the video pause is actually for the video before. So that's why I have it after, to where I say, okay, at the end, just pause for 4 seconds in order to give people a chance to look at that last slide. And I think I've already taken it out here, but originally what we had to make this stop when it showed up in the video is that we had a pause. And I think I had like a 9-second pause on it, but then it kind of dragged because then, you know, for people that really don't want it to maybe read all of it, they were having to fast forward through it. So we decided to instead just keep it within our documentation and turn the video off instead. But we do have that on several slides to where when we found that they were maybe moving a little too quickly, we just put a pause on the slide after. That was one thing. So just like if I wanted this one to go longer, I wouldn't necessarily put the pause here. I would put the pause on the next one so it paused the one prior to it.
Thanks, Linda.
Yeah.
You guys are so creative. Really good, you know, deep thinking about some of the pieces to the application. Awesome.
Thank you.
Is there someone else to share? I'm inspired. Gives me ideas. Yeah, no? Questions? Don't be shy.
Yeah, there's one other thing since no one's talking, I'll brag on our team a little bit.
Please do.
I think one other thing that Linda and our other author Jay have done that has been helpful is like our portal has become rather large, right? We just have one portal that we're putting all of our content in for our users across multiple business units and, you know, things like that. And so something that they've both done is kind of set up their own test portal. So anytime that we're creating new materials, they'll publish it to their test portal first that we can look at. So that gives them a chance to send it out to me and the other product owner or other people on the team to review first before they publish it to our full portal, so that we can minimize the amount of times that we're publishing to the full portal, because it takes a little while, right? So I think that's been really helpful. I think one other thing that has been really powerful for us is the replay feature. So we have a few users, like we have a few different groups who everyone creates accounts, right? Everyone is going to use accounts, but they all have slightly different forms. So we'll build that out for one group, and the steps are going to be the same for all the other groups. So we can just quickly replay on the new form for those other groups. So it helps us when we're releasing training for a new team to greatly reduce the time to develop that training. So that's been really helpful for us as well. Obviously not going to make it no time at all. There's still time needed for reviewing, editing, and that kind of stuff, but definitely a lot shorter than the initial build out. So that's been really exciting. But yeah, I think Linda and Jay have done a great job.
Nice. Shout out to Linda and Jay.
Yeah. Yay.
I'm curious to know, for everyone on the call, is there anybody that has any use or talk about the dashboard? Have you done any user adoption analytics, pulled anything out from there?
I can actually speak to
it. Sorry, after you.
Oh, sorry. We actually check our dashboard very often. It's part of our, we're on an Agile Scrum process team, and we actually have a task every sprint that has us go out and check our feedback from our users that are viewing the videos, so that we can address any issues as soon as, you know, the team sees them, or any constructive feedback, you know, of maybe not being able to see something, or wishing that, you know, something was reacted this way. So the dashboard and the feedback has been very beneficial for us. And plus being able to see who's actually, you know, viewed them when we do launch the new books and items, so that we can see who's out there actually looking at them.
Do you have a mix of your like end users, super users, business analysts that participate in your scrums, or you know, in your user acceptance testing?
It's mainly the team and the product owners.
Okay.
It's the users that are the associates out in the field that are providing the feedback once we publish them, based on their experience in viewing them.
Very good. Do you use, do you have a learning management system, an LMS? Do you put the feed up there and then parse the data into a report, or do you have your own parsing? Because I know it comes out in very raw data.
Yeah, I can take that one, Linda. So I did mention we do have like a learning management system, but usually what we're doing there is creating a task for people to sign off. So kind of accountability without verifying necessarily, right? So people go to this task with a link to ClickLearn, and then they'll log into ClickLearn with their Office 365, watch whatever trainings we say, and then they kind of check off in the learning management system. So then we get a report there that says this many people completed the task. We're kind of using, as Linda said, the just dashboard in the ClickLearn portal to see overall numbers and get some stats. Pulling the data, like the O data out, we've done that a little bit to get very high level stats like total number of plays, total number of people who watched show me's in a certain date range, that kind of stuff for like rolling up to other people in the organization. But we haven't really dug into it too much to start looking at, did these specific people watch these specific trainings? Because like you said, it's kind of raw data, and I mean, most of the time it's not worth it, right? If they're not watching it, they're the ones that are gonna hurt, right? And it's on their manager. So that's why we kind of went for the just accountability task sign off route, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it certainly does. At least there is an accountability to it. So that's a plus.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks
Jonathan,
for that.
you were going to say something, right?
Yeah, no, it's very similar in terms of I use the dashboard for sort of mainly for our larger clients for sort of high level statistics about usage. So it's quite useful, and the feedback element of it is quite useful. If they pick up on something, yeah, it's quite good because they will feedback and it's something like an action. The O data I've played around with a little bit in Excel and in Power BI. I find it a little bit difficult to get really useful stuff out of the O data at the moment. I don't know what other people tend to find with it, but it is okay for sort of some of the high level stuff like you were saying, but yeah, to really drill down, it's a little bit more difficult to get that sort of deeper dive into it. In terms of you've got an LMS and use it as sort of for pointing people to ClickLearn. Do you ever upload SCORM files into your LMS?
We do not. We liked the ClickLearn portal, and we liked having ownership of the ClickLearn portal because our training team or HR team, they own the LMS system. So I don't want to rely on them to update our training. And we're adding training like every sprint. So every 2 weeks, we're adding something new. So we don't want to rely on them. But Jonathan, I have a question for you. So you're a partner, and you're creating the trainings for your customers, and then if your customers want new trainings, are you providing them, or do they have the ability to become an author and create their own?
There's a mixture. So we have set customers who we do all their authoring for and all their updates. We have all other customers who have bought ClickLearn through us. And I'm working with one in particular at the moment, helping them get started, helping them authoring, and then they will take on the authoring themselves because they bought the product. We work with partners and do some collaboration work as well. So I'll have guys come and sit with me and we'll work through, and then they look to, in the future, perhaps take on ClickLearn so they can update it. So we've got quite a range, which is quite nice. And more recently, the reason I ask about the LMS is we're looking more at using that functionality from ClickLearn to produce SCORMs and take it into people's LMSs as well. So again, that's another thing that is quite recent for us, but it's quite exciting, I think.
Yeah, cool. Quite interesting. If you're providing stuff to clients that you're not updating as much, then it might make sense for them to put it into their system since they're not going to need to maintain it.
Yeah, it's just fairly current at the moment.
Yeah.
But,
quick comment, if you guys don't mind. Hi, everyone. Dan Madden. I also work with the census. I have a comment on kind of Kylie's story here that'll lead to a question to the group, if everyone doesn't mind. So on the LMS side, that hit a sweet spot with me, because when I first joined, before we even knew ClickLearn, I inherited a roadmap to drive us towards the cloud. And I went to meet the L&D team and I asked for, all right, where's the CRM expertise within the group? And there was none. And then I asked, well, where's even our resource to help us build out content? And there was none, right? We had a portion of a body who didn't understand the work of what we're doing, right? So thankfully, we went to the CRM UG Summit and met ClickLearn, and were able to, as a team, understand that this was the bridge to that large gap that we had as part of our program. With that said, we've changed the script for everything internally, right? Now the L&D team is looking at us to say, well, our company just bought Microsoft 365, formerly Office 365. How can you help us roll these features out? And it's like, whoop, we don't have enough team bandwidth to roll up that many authors. So at the same point now, we're at an inflection point where we're moving up the ClickLearn license scale, if you will, and we're starting to shop additional connectors. My question for the group, and Jonathan, I did see through your demo, which I very much appreciated, the Office piece. So that's very near and dear to us right now as a team, because rolling out Office, specifically Microsoft 365, to a very large company is going to create a very large training need. Is there any commentary that anyone could provide on the call about beyond maybe the core Dynamics connector? Some of the successes that you've had with some of the other connectors or modules within the stack?
So I think for me, I've got obviously the Office connector, and I've also used ClickLearn across things like other elements of the Power Platform as well.
All right.
And I think for me, that's very close to my sort of heart, is the whole Microsoft Office word processing spreadsheets, because I taught it for many, many years. And there are no good resources out there from a teacher's perspective that are interactive and engaging. So I think ClickLearn is a fantastic tool for delivering those sorts of things. And that what I was showing there is what I'm developing in terms of being able to provide to our customers first and foremost, because there is also a skills gap, I think, just generally across the board in terms of using those applications. And you find people come into a job, they come into technology, they can do Dynamics or they can do other things. They can't do the very interesting stuff you can do in word processing or spreadsheets or PowerPoint or any of those other ones that are available. So I think ClickLearn is a fantastic tool for taking that forward, personally.
Really appreciate that. Yeah, but we're certainly assuming that this will help us maximize our ROI on those large spends moving to the cloud, the whole firm to, Microsoft 365. So I think that's a very good point, right? Everyone can eventually learn enough to do their job, but it's about how efficient they're being with these tools through the use of a tool just like ClickLearn. Really appreciate that, Jonathan.
No worries.
Hey, Christine, I can show some stuff if you'd like. Mike here.
Awesome. You're on mute, Christine.
Thank you. Awesome. Please do.
Okay. This is probably going to be, this will partly answer what Dan was asking about, I think. So let me, I assume you can see our portal.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a number of different applications that we are developing ClickLearn on. A couple of them are web apps. One of them is D365 Finance and Operations, Another one is Salesforce. So we're using it against multiple different cloud offerings, and provisioning this for primarily for internal users currently, but also moving forward as our company PCL Construction deals with many partner companies. We are looking to develop more content that is going to be exposed to our partners, or essentially our external users. We have approximately 1,600 internal users today and 3,000 external users of our application for just the operations portal that we're currently developing. This is the first of, I think, 5 different portals we expect to build on top of our D365 finance and operations system. This is a very peculiar situation for those of you that know the Dynamics realm. Mostly CRM tends to be used as a development platform. In this case, through a long story, which I won't go into, PCL is using finance and operations as a custom development platform. So everything you see in our D365 F&O platform is custom objects. There is nothing really standard other than the underpinnings of things like users and whatnot. So this portal I'm showing is our portal is targeted at our operations users. We have another one that's planned for finance and operations, another one that's planned for our estimating users. There will be certain elements that will be shared. So we'll have recordings that we'll pull out of this this structure and share with those other users. So they'll be not repeated. But the structure will be similar. We decided to follow the menu path in our D365 environment with the structure and used all the layers that were available to us in ClickLearn. So cost management, project admin, etc. These are all what you would refer to as modules. So if you're familiar with F&O, it'd be accounts payable, purchasing, etc. Inventory management. So if I drill into one of these, I'll go into cost management. For us, cost management is managing the financials associated with a project that we build for a customer. So again, we're following our menu structure within the application. So these are the little area menus you may see. So budgets, cost codes, CRX, etc. So if I drill into budgets, we'll have multiple recordings in each one of these areas. We intend to have over 200 recordings on this shelf. Currently, I think the plan I have is 210. Each of these shelves, or each of these books, pardon me, at this level, will almost always start with what we refer to as an overview. And this is where I will show you a little bit of what I think we've done is kind of unique. And in fact, ClickLearn has told us might be a little bit outside the bounds of what they intended. But so basically an overview is intended to replace one of our training topics where we originally did PowerPoint presentations and explained to our users concepts and just, you know, the general roadmap of the of all of these different functions. And then beyond that, they're all what you might expect to see. Hey, how do I create a budget? How do I assign things? How do I split it? How do I, you know, how do I do all the individual functions that I would normally want to do? Usually laid out in a manner where they are in the progression of the way you would typically do these things, sort of left to right, top to bottom. Okay, so I'll go into the budget overview one as an example. So we haven't done the nice customizing that Jonathan's done, but I'm inspired to do that as far as the icons. You'll notice we suppressed the PowerPoint and the Word. We didn't find those to be particularly useful, and we also are not using the avatar because of the fact that it requires the Chrome browser. So I'm curious if anybody else has kind of run into that. We just can't guarantee what browsers our users are going to use, and if they don't use Chrome, they can't use the avatar. So we just kind of went, ugh, you know what, maybe that's something we'll solve in a future release or what have you. But okay, so this recording, as you can see, there's learning objectives. And then as you scroll down, we have swim lane diagrams explaining the elements. and we start to build out and lay out the concepts and have text that goes with these images. So this one then ends with a, hey, remember this, and next you should go and upload your original budget. So that, you know, what do you do next? And which of course is the next icon over here, or the next work instruction as we call it. Okay, but what's interesting, I think, is that we developed this content in PowerPoint, and we've actually converted it and played it back to the user in show me mode in PowerPoint. So I guess I'm going to have to stop sharing for a second, Christine, because I did the mortal sin and forgot to share my audio. So give me a second here.
While you're clicking that button, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
You said you didn't modify like your icons, but I do notice that all of your icons are your same branding color. Is that just a template setting? Like
no, actually, all of our, oh yeah, that's the template color. We are green. The company's color PCL is, that's the set to the PCL green.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think we updated some of our template colors, but I don't think we updated that one because that's still ClickLearn blue. Not that we don't like ClickLearn blue, but thank you.
Okay, we noticed an error and pause sharing your audio to resolve it. Interesting, that's a Teams error, so I don't know if the audio is going to work. Can't share system audio. That's a new error. I haven't seen that one before. Let me stop and try one more time and see if it'll work. Sorry. Okay, well, we'll see if it works. Okay, so in show me mode, we replicated the experience that ClickLearn created with the click to, you know, the basically the start button, because it doesn't auto start the video. So we added the sort of the play button and made a bit of a play on words with ClickLearn and call it Click to Learn. Nice. Okay, so when we start it.
Welcome to PM4 Plus. This session covers an overview of the budget process, how the estimate handed over from best estimating is exported, and how the best estimate is imported into PM4 Plus. The process flow outlines the two systems that play a part with creating a budget. The steps that are shaded in gray are processes that occur within another system. When PCL bids on a job, estimators will create an estimate. During bid closing, the prices received from the subcontractors will be entered into the estimate as bid file, which will output a pricing report that is submitted to the owner. In most cases, when the project has been awarded to PCL, an estimate handover meeting is held. A control estimate is then given to the project manager to adjust bid items and or lines within the estimate. This may also include cost coding the estimate. From the control estimate, the project manager will create an export file in best estimating. Now that we have reviewed the process in best estimating, let's look at how the budget is created in PM4 Plus. When the project manager creates a budget upload, the budget will be created in draft status. Once a record is created, the project manager can add single estimate lines to the budget, or import the PM4 Plus export file from best estimating.
Okay, so I think you kind of get the gist of it. And so the what I think is unique is we actually recorded the PowerPoint as it was playing the animations, and then we overlay text in ClickLearn Studio for essentially augmenting the text that's displayed on the screen, but yet in the what's presented to the user in the PDF or in the HTML format is sort of a summarized version of it. But if you followed along, that text that it was reading to you is actually coming from the exact same, or is exactly the same content. And I guess similarly, our PDF, we've also spent quite a bit of time tinkering with the layout and trying to get it to look decent. Same sort of thing. We have page breaks and setup whereby it's summarized text for each of the images. This change, we changed our standard full size width down a little bit to try to get a little bit less real estate usage in our Word PDF output. Okay, so that's essentially what our overview topics always look like, and again, they always start at the top left. And
Michael,
so if
I
I
would
go
have
in,
a question. Sorry, Anya from GF talking here, because I find it quite interesting. Because yeah, like you see, I've never seen something like that before. And so my question is really just to really understand it. So you have used ClickLearn inside a PDF, inside a PowerPoint. Then
no,
I guess you
that's yeah, we recorded a PowerPoint. Yes,
you recorded a PowerPoint. So you have used really like steps, so like clicking inside the PowerPoints.
that's right.
That and then you have probably just hidden the steps and just used the bookmarks, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's
yes,
nice big pictures which are normally just the bookmarks.
That's right.
Because if they're in small, it's not so nice looking.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, okay, good. Nice to know. Thanks.
Because yeah, no worries. And again, our big challenge from the very beginning was, in our case, we had developed far too many different resources. We had 40 training topics with lesson plans, PowerPoint presentations, demo scripts, exercises. We have a very big team developing this application. We had 70 videos that were produced. We have 400 knowledge articles in our ServiceNow application, and it's far too many different resources to maintain for this system. So when we discovered ClickLearn, we realized we could consolidate and reduce the effort associated with maintaining all of those different resources, which was a huge win for the company. And then everybody else started to piggyback on the fact that we were going forward with ClickLearn for this application. So here's and I think as Jonathan and others mentioned, the template was very important to us so that the style and look and feel of everything followed the exact same layout. So we are doing that and have set all of our rules and guides for how things are presented in our individual work instruction recordings. We also use the flow. I don't think it's in this one. We're using the flow where it asks a question and lets you go left or right, essentially, within the same recording. We do have some recordings, and I'll just drive to one other place where they do a bit of a combination of both. So they do a little bit of PowerPoint and overview at the front end, and then they explain some concepts before they get into the work instructions. So let's see if I can remember which one it is. We have a team of basically 5 full-time people working on developing this content at the moment. And so we've got a fairly big group focused on this. And then we have a whole bunch of people, extended team members who are either contributing or reviewing the content. So this is an example of one where it's a combination where we introduce a concept again or refresh people on a concept, and then we bridge into the work instructions and explain how to navigate and how to fill in the content. Yeah, so I thought that might be interesting. And also for those of you that are Smartsheet users, we are using Smartsheet to track all of the recordings through the life cycle. So you can see all of our recordings going through the process. We have 28 in our backlog, 49 in book design, and all the way across to 27 and 60 in peer review, essentially being reviewed on our portal. So kind of interesting to use the card-based model that you might use in Microsoft Planner, but in Smartsheet, a far more effective tool because you can actually do hierarchy and define books and shelves and all that good stuff that you need to do to track your work product. Anyway, that's probably enough for me. I thought that the PowerPoint might be something different to see how we did that and presented a little different way to introduce topics.
Hi, my name is Liz McIntyre, and my question is directed to Michael. Um, I really appreciate that presentation. I would love to learn more about the process of how you integrated PowerPoint into your video, into ClickLearn. And if I could just confirm my understanding, you make the PowerPoint presentation, you record the video of the PowerPoint presentation, but the audio is being narrated by a script or the text in ClickLearn. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, we absolutely. We could have used people to narrate the PowerPoints, and many people have asked us to do that, but we keep countering with, that's a maintenance nightmare. Every time you record a person, everybody's nodding their head. They're like, yeah, we don't want to do that. And we were at the same point. You know, a person will always have a far more personal touch in those videos. But the moment the application changes, or the moment you realize they misspoke, you're in for a whole bunch of production time, and we're just not into that. Our team has been a massive investment for our company to implement this and develop this application, but it has to shrink. So we have to reduce the number of people involved in producing the end product for the end user. We've got about 350 projects that are using the application now across our company, and it's about halfway up to the normal number of open projects in our construction world. So we got about 1,600 users internally. Well, you know, we'll probably have another 500 to 700 or 800 more users coming online. They need to have these tools, and we have to keep updating the application every quarter, basically, with additional features and functions. Just needed something to be far simpler to maintain, and that certainly has been our experience with ClickLearn.
Thank
But
you.
you know, specifically, what people would find useful is if we add something to the ClickLearn community about essentially how we did the PowerPoint, or you know, we could basically get some instruction steps on how we did the PowerPoint. There's some things like in the PowerPoint you can't use animations, that you can't get it. You can only use the appear animations, for example. You can't use fly in, zoom in, all that funky fun stuff. It doesn't work. So there were some things that we really spent time tinkering with to make it work right. And obviously, you know, the overview content doesn't change as often. So luckily that you don't have to change your PowerPoints as often, whereas the application, you know, new fields get added, features change, etc. So that's the regular work instructions we expect to change. So if people find it useful, we'll try to find some time and put some of our instruction steps up in the community as for how to do that.
I would really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem.
Really think that was absolutely brilliant. I tried something similar and failed dismally. So you've just inspired me to give it another go. And any steps you put up on the community would be very, very helpful. So yeah, it'd be really good to see something like that.
Yeah, that was something that Per said to me. He sort of went, I'm not sure that we intended you guys to be doing this. But we really wanted to get rid of all of our training materials that were instructor led. And, you know, obviously we started this process back in December, January, and really got heavy into it in February, March, before COVID came. And now we have a whole lot of users that can't get trained in classroom, period. That is not just can't get together in a classroom. So they're trying to do it remote. And it just isn't quite as easy as what we think ClickLearn will be able to replace all of that classroom experience.
Yeah, Linda and I were chatting on the side about how cool that is, and how I think there's a lot of our trainings that we could have used a few intro slides like that. I think we're usually just kind of typing it in notes, but sometimes you need some additional context, or even stuff like people ask how our CRM roadmap is defined, and Dan has like some template slides he used, and usually he ends up talking for like 45 minutes. So we could just put that in ClickLearn and save our time listening to Dan. It would be great.
Blasphemy. Michael, I appreciate you sharing. This is Dan, the talker. Quick question for you. I wanted to, kind of caught something there you said twice. ClickLearn has said that this is sort of out of the bounds for what they intended the product to do. With that said, have you ran into any issues? And if so, were they willing to support it?
We have run into a number of issues. I don't think they've really been with the overviews in particular in terms of the PowerPoint. So
Wow.
we have had video play issues, which you guys have all seen some of the fixes that have come through. So when we've raised incidents with ClickLearn, they've been pretty good at acknowledging and plugging the holes essentially with the app. So been happy with that. There's lots of features we would love to have that are on that next release, and unfortunately, we're launching those recordings in July, and we really can't wait till October or September, whenever the next release is in the fall. So we're going ahead with as it is, and then we'll look to incorporate the new features later on.
Great.
Now, Michael, can you do replay to make any changes, or do you have to change the recording itself?
So in the overview recordings?
Yeah, like
yeah.
for us, we can do replay, yeah.
Yeah, we'll use replay on the application ones. I don't think it makes entire sense to use the replay on the PowerPoint items. I mean, of course, they're not really. We're deriving the change in that case, whereas with replay, you're really saying, oh, hey, let's just replay the recording to see what changed. With the PowerPoint content, we are driving the change, so we would know what to change in the recording.
Okay.
Again, that shouldn't change
Anya
as much with release. So, yeah, go ahead, Lucia.
Anya speaking again. So you said you have around 200, 300 recordings. I don't remember exactly. So kind of a lot of recordings in your portal. So does it take a long time for you to upload all of these content to the portal, or do you have any issues with that?
We were producing twice a day, but we have to stop producing at lunchtime because it wasn't finishing in an hour. So yes, when we produce, it'll take more than an hour. We've got about half the content loaded in some way, shape, or form. So I'm expecting the production time to take several hours at least. And we'll do it probably every evening for a while yet. And then when hopefully it'll calm down and we will be able to produce on more like on a weekend or a week, like a once a week or something.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, our PDF's going to be massive. It'll take forever to download. It's about 800 pages already. And if that doesn't discourage printing, I don't know what. We hope nobody ever prints that thing. How's that?
Yeah.
Or at least print it while they're still working from home on their personal printer.
Yeah.
Run out of ink. Is anyone using any of the language translation services?
Yes, that's what I was just getting into because, yeah, really also to introduce myself, I'm Anya, working for George Fisher, based in Switzerland. We are currently rolling out our CRM from 2013 to CRM 365. And we have also used now ClickLearn for over 1 year. So we started with the rollout in September all over the world. Yeah, Asia has had to wait. So now we conduct the Asian training online. And then we have all the countries. So I just would quickly like to share my experience with languages. Not so much showing you the different portal because there's just languages. I don't know who is so familiar with Japanese that he can read our whole portal in Japanese then. But yeah, we're working with 7 different languages. Just also finished the base content. It took a while also from translation side from our users that we had that, but we're working with 7 different languages. So I use, I'm quite an expert now with the replay role when somebody has a question on that. With the different languages on the different in the system. So it was quite at the beginning, it was a little bit tough, I would say. But like probably most of you know, the ClickLearn support is really great. So always when there was a question, somebody were there within an hour to help us and support us, and we get that done. And then we have now rolled out the whole CRM nearly with this portal, and everybody's really loving it because it's directly integrated into the system. Where it comes for the point with the dashboards, also here I would like to say it was really helpful because we start our trainings that we tell our users they have to first do the basic content in ClickLearn, tell them where to find, and with the dashboard you can directly see in which countries it was already opened or where they have never even opened it. So there especially this country map helps us to see in which countries it is helpful, and also when it comes then again for the languages, when they ask us if we cannot extend to another language the whole portal, then we say, okay, then please start first using ClickLearn more, that it also makes sense. So just also would like to show you my ClickLearn portal, or our ClickLearn portal from the company. So here you can see the Japanese version.
Wow.
I don't want to get too much into that, but
I've never seen that before.
that is kind of amazing when you get there in buttons. Just hover over. Yeah. Always the same with Teams, showing which screen. So let me share again. So that is base content. So we just really have the base content currently, so there will come a lot more in the future. So that is the work for the next months now. We have really just the base content, and our CM is also more based currently for the sales people. So we here have really the sales book with all the three base contents we have currently. And now really, like I said, everything translated in several languages here. It also, I sadly just found in the ClickLearn, when there was the virtual meeting we had, which was in the end of April, out that there is the function with the replay that you can easily let it replay with different wordings and different names typing in. So that was then helpful from that time when I knew about it. So with the, I think that's process automation, which helps there, because when you look, I have given each account in our system when I started, for example, with the customers, and to create an account, it really starts with a name for English. So you also will see it's called, it's loading, EN engineering. And so I have used that for all the different languages, because what I recognize makes most sense is not that you start with one language and then you finish everything with English and then you start, for example, with German, which was really helpful for me. It's like, okay, I have now everything for this one chapter finished in all the different languages, and then I continue with the next chapter. So here it also helped me to really make like a good overview. Okay, which account is for which language, to easily use this also for the different recordings which I had for ClickLearn. So I think that's one of the key facts I can give you, really not starting the whole ClickLearn portal and then for all the different languages on their own, to do everything together once you're already in this recording. Also, when we think about I don't know who is working with the CRM 365 on the unified interface, but they're also with the updates coming from Microsoft each half a year. It is really helpful if you stick to it, because that's what we have not done at the beginning, and then we crashed a little bit because they're coming these changes, and then you have to do everything again, also on the base recording. And so that's hopefully can help you guys in the future then.
Anya, that's great. A quick question: when you do the other recordings, do you all, pardon me, do you also change the screens inside Microsoft to be able to capture the screens in that in the other language as well?
Yes. So I can also show you again when we're Japanese, which I still have open. It's actually what I can tell you, quite a nice experience to have then your system in Japanese and Chinese. And now I know already the signs for English in both languages when you move back to the language, because there you get a lot of issues getting back and trying all the languages.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, here, for example, you can see how it looks like. So all the whole system then is coming in Japanese. And yeah, I cannot tell you exactly what everything is written,
No.
but it's
That's
quite
awesome.
amazing to see what ClickLearn is also doing here, because that would be not possible. And we also asked already our Chinese and Japanese people, and they looked over it and they say from the base content, it's not kind of perfect, but most important is they understand what is behind and what we want to tell them. And I think that's most important for them, because normally they're used to it that everything is in English. And also our local sales people are not always such an expert in English, which they do not need to be when they go to their local customers. But for these materials, it's really helpful to have them in their local language.
Great.
Yeah, so I think you might have just answered my question. So you're using the automatic translation and someone's reviewing it, but you're not making manual changes to it, or are you also making some manual changes from a native speaker?
We are currently we're exporting the Excel, and then we're giving the export Excel to our users in the countries which are native speakers. Currently, like I said, we have just finalized now with the base content. They're currently reviewing it. And then the idea is that we can then, which I know from Morten told me, that then we can import it back, and then it should be the same. So we'll see if hopefully everything is going fine for that. But there I'm pretty sure. And then, yeah, probably the language is even better.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Little note here. Awesome. Thank you, Anya. Anyone else? Don't be shy.
Well, I'm never shy, Christine, but I had
There
one
you
other
go.
tip I thought of while someone was talking, which is I think the power, I get more back to the training strategy, I guess, and I think the power of the tool and using the different things we had in the tool. So one of our first launches on ClickLearn, the managers of the department said, we like the videos, we only want our team to use the videos, they're never going to use anything else. So find us the direct link to the videos, and we want to send those in the email communication. So we did some probably also not supported ClickLearn things to kind of spelunk around URL modification and find like this direct link to the video, right? And we sent that out in the communication, and then we proceeded to get feedback from several of the users who said, I don't learn like this. How can I, I need training that's more hands-on, or I need da-da-da-da. And that kind of showed us that we should not be doing this, right? Like we're not using the power of the tool. And that's since then we've started saying, no, we're only sending you the portal, and you can find the trainings in it that are relevant to you, and then look at it in different ways. Because, if there were a few people who said it, there was probably more people who were feeling it, that they weren't getting the training in the format that they were expecting it, and that would be helpful for them. So I think that was a big lesson learned for us.
Yeah, I can echo that. We've had some pilot sessions with our portal, and same comment with brand new users to the application. We just sent them the link and said, go explore. These are the books that are filled out, and we'll circle back with you in a week, and we want to hear what you have to say. And same thing. I like the videos. No, I like to read. No, I like to. The only common thing we heard was the Try Me was kind of like, yeah, it wasn't quite what I thought it would be. They thought the Try Me would be like a playground system that they could go and actually click around and do whatever they wanted. So they didn't quite get that Try Me is actually just another video, at least initially. And then when they realized what it was, they were like, yeah, we're not so sure we like that. but for now we're leaving it in, and we plan to use the OData feed to tell us whether people are using it or not. And what people say they want and what they will do are always two different things. So we intend to use the OData feed to drive that. There is a conversation in the community where Tobias has promised to provide some more details on that OData feed. There's some metrics in the OData feed that are somewhat mysterious as to whether they're seconds or minutes or hours, or I don't know what they're actually reporting on. So hopefully he'll follow through on that soon.
Okay.
So look in the ClickLearn community for that, or perhaps he'll post it somewhere else. I'm not sure, but he said he would post it in the community.
Okay. I'll keep an eye for that. Tickle him up a little bit with that.
Just a second, whole idea that the variety of learning is the key thing. And I think the videos, people get very sort of, watch video training. And I personally, I get very bored about 5 minutes into video training because I'm just sat there watching it. And from the sort of the overview I see on my analytics, more people access the pages than they do the videos, and spend more time, tend to, from the feedback I have, they spend more time looking through the documentation than they do going to the videos. So I think it's certainly a powerful thing to have all of those different options there. And people do learn in different ways, and I think I think even in the way that ClickLearn presents itself, I think that you guys could make so much more of that, because you're catering to so I come from a learning support background as well. You're catering to so many different learning styles and learning needs, and that's a massive sort of bonus to so many people.
Yeah. I think a part of it is also that we have a lot of different devices that we can all access the information from as well. So right now with the COVID world that we live in, there might be people who have the dual monitors, so they'll pop something up on the monitor, whether it's a video or one of the manuals to be able to view, and then they'll have the application open that they need to be working in. Some people have just a handheld device. They might be sitting on a train. Maybe they've got an iPad. And so I'd like to think that ClickLearn has addressed, and even as far as being out and away from any kind of Wi-Fi resource, if they download the content, except for that 800-page honkin' PDF, but they, if they need to be looking at some of the documentation, they could, take a look at that Word document or an individual PDF while they're out standing in a field or working, if it's a customer service kind of thing. So a great point, Jonathan. Thank you for that.
If I could put a plug in, there's one enhancement request I put in the ClickLearn community around the video controls and improving the video controls. One thing a lot of users have mentioned as far as videos, like YouTube, you have more controllability. You can find out where you're at in the video. You can have that little image popping up and flowing across to help you find a certain spot. If the user wants to, hey, go watch the video starting at 3 minutes and 33 seconds, you can't do that with ClickLearn Video Show Me. So there's some enhanced video controls I'd love to see in the tool, and I put a suggestion in. So if you guys would vote that up, that might help get more traction on that. It's I think people would like to be have that more of the YouTube and or the podcast experience, where I can wait, what did he say? I want to go back 10 seconds or 15 seconds and hear that repeated to me, or I just want to skip through it faster because I want to jump to the part where I know where I'm looking for the specific step.
Yeah.
So
right now, I think the closest that we have is that if you break your recordings down into chapters or sub-chapters, you'll notice that right down there by the start and the audio beside it, there's a sub-chapter button that you could pop up, and you can jump ahead to those chapters or jump back to it. So yes, there's always room for improvement, and that's a good one too, is to be able to get it down to, let's just get you to that section a little quicker.
I put the link in the chat so we can all vote for it. I had voted because I agree, especially on the controllable speed. Any of these training videos, I want to watch
Yes.
them
Yes,
a bit faster.
that's great.
I'll show you one last thing we did in our little intro slide to try to help. That we're using chapters a lot, Christine, and absolutely this is probably a simple one, but there we have, so basically, yeah, the chapter's there, but if I click somewhere else, well, hang on a second, let me go back to the beginning. So you can see the beginning. We add a little bubble on our intro image to try to help point out the fact that the chapters are there.
Nice, yes.
Because people don't, they understand most of these controls natively, pause, audio, yeah, but this one wasn't as obvious and people pointed out they didn't understand or click on that thing. They don't really use these ones over here as much, but they didn't know it. So we did try to call it out with this little bubble. But we've had people say we didn't even see that either. So.
Yeah, one of the acronyms is RATS, right? To read all the screen, and people tend to just whatever attracts their eye. But yeah, RATS, read it all.
I'm assuming I should create this discussion about the PowerPoint in the peer exchange. Does that feel like the right place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it sort of belongs a conversation there, and then people can respond, I guess. Yeah, okay, we'll put something in there in the peer exchange.
Excuse me, I have one question. I am very new with ClickLearn, and this may be a very elementary question, but Jonathan, you were talking about the avatars, and I would like to either get rid of the avatars or maybe just have a plain circle. I really don't like the cartoony kind of assistant that pops up. Where did you change your avatar? Is it in the template?
Yes, it is. So the place to do, if I just bring up mine, and so if you go into your tools and preferences, and then if you open up your template, when it gets there, and then go into preferences, and then the assist there, this is where you can upload a template. So you can open up an image file that you've created, or edit the one that's in there. So if you wanted something very plain and simple in there, you could just set the template up with a little circular bubble or whatever you wanted in there, and create it as you wish.
Thank you very, very much for that.
One thing I will say, I don't know how much people use these. I have the PowerPoint that ClickLearn sends out, which has got the template in it. And you'll notice that each individual part is a separate entity on there. So when you're creating the image, what you need to do is select the whole lot. And then if you save it as a picture, it will save it in a way which you can then upload back into ClickLearn easily, because it's saving the whole lot as individual parts, as it were. And if you use the template as well, you don't have to worry about sizings in ClickLearn, because that's the other thing that sort of threw me at the beginning, was I was ending up with very large images in here or very small images that didn't fit and didn't work properly, and it took a lot more playing around with. So if you use that template to do whatever changes you want to do before you upload it, then you'll find it's a lot easier process.
Did you say that you got that from ClickLearn?
Yeah, this was this came out as part of the original template builds when I requested a template. this is one of the things that came as the original zip file, I believe, and so I've had it for quite some time. So yeah, it came directly from them, and as I say, all of these dimensions on this image fit very much into the template within ClickLearn itself. So it just saves a lot of time and faffing about if you use that as a starting point.
Yep. Jonathan, while you're sharing your studio, if you don't mind, because you just had it open, the studio. And sorry, did you close your recording template?
I can bring it up, yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm kind of curious. I found it peculiar, and Christine, maybe I'm going off track here, but I found it peculiar that there wasn't much documentation of this. And Jonathan's laughing. So yeah, even just like if you go back one screen and go into Word document, for example, and just like, what are these things and what can I do with them and what should I do? What should I put in here or not? Like, what are the rules of the road for that one you just clicked on, or the handle note? You've got a few changes. We've got quite a few changes in ours, and we've been having to work with ClickLearn on getting all those changes. That one, for example, has a little bit of help, but others don't. And so it's a bit of trial and error, or just working with ClickLearn. I don't know if does anybody else find it surprising there's not much documentation for what you can and can't do here?
No, I agree.
Yeah, our end users have become very much more robust in their use and getting down into the weeds in this level of detail. And the only place that we've just recently launched our community website, so I'm sure that we're going to see more and more things come from our customer care. But if you've already exhausted the research or the materials that we have up on the help, Jonathan, did you start there at all? So if you go up to the help menu into the content, the ClickLearn content. Yeah. So we probably don't have a lot of information here. We have the languages and translations and the preferences. So in the preferences, I don't think that would really have a lot of information either. Yeah.
I haven't found anything, and it would be advantageous and it would reduce your support calls to support, frankly.
Exactly. Yes.
So I find it peculiar. You want us to call you to get us to help fix our template or change our template every time we find an issue or want to experiment with something.
Yeah, we need to grow right along with our community.
I think from my experience, you have to be of a certain mindset to get your head into the template side of things, because it's not the easiest things to work your way around. So I'm guessing there's not a lot of information out there, is because not everyone wants to go that deep. And everything I've learned template wise have been things I thought, well, I wonder if, and then I've spoken to the support team about it, and then they've sort of taken me through the template and how to do it, or passed me a bit of code to dump in there to show how it's done, which is fantastic. But I wouldn't envy anyone trying to explain the whole of that thing, I think. But I think you're right. I think the community side of things is going to be where we can actually find a lot more information out from each other, because we probably all ask different things at one time or another. And it's where we can probably find a lot more information about those things without going to support if we have to.
Yeah, I think we've posted a few articles out there lately on templates. So we are starting to dive deeper into our own pool, if you will. But there's so much more that you have to take the time, and we'll definitely work on that. Great takeaway.
Yeah, I think Morton did one the other day, and it was brilliant. It was like, we can turn on the video controls, or move the video control bar down, I think it was. And I'm like, that's exactly the kind of stuff that I'd love to see more of. And he's also agreeing to have release notes that provide more meat for us. Improve this feature. Okay, how? Yes. What did you do? So the community is really going to help that, and then give an opportunity for ClickLearn to share more, I agree, and or us to share amongst each other. So
Yeah. Well, I know we've gone a little bit over here, but everything that you've shared with us today has truly been, it's helpful to me. It's inspiring. And at this point, I'm going to turn the meeting back over to Lucia and see if there's any other final comments or wrap up that she'd like to share with you before we say goodbye for now. Hopefully you'll like to, we'll have more of these that you can share, be a part of.
All right, thanks, Christine. So on to your next meeting.
Thank you.
Well done.
Bye.
Yeah, I don't know, guys, if you have anything else you would like to ask each other. I'm apparently not a customer success manager, so I'm not sure I can ask these kind of, very relevant questions right now to you. I'm more in charge of the community, as you probably noticed. So I would just really encourage you anytime you have, some ideas or if there is anything you would like to see on the community, if you have an idea for, similar sessions like this. Of course, Michael, if you can post this process that you were explaining today in the peer exchange, we're all gonna benefit from that. And in regards to the content, which you were saying you would like to see more on the community, I took notes, and yes, we have launched this community quite recently, so there is a lot to improve. There is a lot to learn. There is a lot to add. We have a content pipeline with what we think would be interesting for you to dig deeper in. But I can only promise that, in the near future, you can see a lot of more information there. That's also the goal, right? So you don't have to call Morten or Tracy or Tobias every time you have some questions. The knowledge should be in that one place, easy to access for anyone. So I'm just very happy that you guys joined us today. And it seems like everyone got something out of this meeting, which is great. Thanks a lot for sharing. So
thank you very much for organizing. Yes, that's great, and the community is a massive improvement for you guys. So that's for everyone.
Yeah, it's for everyone. And an idea for this, the idea for this session actually came from the community, right? We had one of our customers who just was looking for some inspiration and who unfortunately didn't join today, but too bad. I invited him. But we will share this recording also on the community, so others who are in Australia or in some other time zones or were unable to join us can actually rewatch it at their convenience. So if you have, this is like the stage is yours. It's really for you to talk to other peers and other authors, to look for inspiration. And if you have any questions that you were wondering how others address, just use this, as an opportunity to ask. And also, if you come up with something later on, you can always just look each other up on the community and send each other's a private message. You can schedule another session with each other if it's going to help you. But we're always happy to facilitate something like this in the future. All right. So if you have anything else you would like to ask each other, I'm not really the support person here to help, So I'm really just opening this meeting and closing it.
Thank you for organizing. It was very inspiring.
Glad to hear.
Really got a lot out of it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.